Do Time with Pastor Steph.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Rise and shine. You're on with It's Due Time with Pastor Steph. How is everyone doing on this wonderful Tuesday morning? Now, yes, I know y'all can see me. It's not Pastor Steph, it's your girl Shontyce. Good morning. Pastor Steph still needs a little more rest. She was a little under the weather this past weekend, but we give God thanks that she is okay. She does not have to be rushed to the emergency room. She is not in the emergency room. She is at home resting, and we just give God thanks. You know, we tried to get on yesterday morning, but we were experiencing some technical difficulties, so we just gonna mosey on in to this week. Now, if you are an avid listener, for those who listen audio, or if you are a faithful viewer, I hope you were able to see the notice that we posted on Pastor Steph's Coach for Christian Life Facebook page yesterday, because you were able to shake the Monday morning blues by going back into this same channel and hitting at least one of those links. One. All of the episodes that It's Due Time Pastor Steph has, you were able to go back and watch at least one episode to be able to shake the Monday morning blues, shake off all of the rest and relaxation where you don't want to necessarily shake it off. But we got to now get into work mode. You know, it's the work week. So we're giving God thanks that we are able to be here. How was your Monday? How was your Monday? We have to make sure that we are able to work and relax during the week, because that's actually something that I'm still trying to master. You know, I use Sundays as my day to do absolutely nothing, because typically Monday through Friday, it's a whole lot that needs to be done work-wise, home-wise, and then on Saturday we observe the Sabbath, so we're in church. So we just need to really make sure that we are on point. Now, where were y'all last week? Now, last week, we weren't really here. And it was for good reasons. You know, Pastor Steph's granddaughter, she did graduate from elementary. So we were not able to be on because she had to make sure she was fulfilling her faithful grandma duties. And it was an amazing week and time spent that she had with her family. We were on Monday and Tuesday. So if you missed it, or if you need a recap, make sure you come back to the same channel. Did y'all hit that subscribe button? Because Pastor Steph is always making sure she reminds y'all to hit that subscribe button. Okay, and go back and listen to what we were on. I believe I was on last Tuesday. Wasn't I on last Tuesday, y'all? Yes, with Pastor Steph, Pastor Vinny, and Pastor KL. I was right. Okay, so make sure you go back and make sure you watch that, because again, we need those daily reminders, those weekly reminders. God doesn't have us talking about these things for no reason. Last Tuesday, we were on for Let's Talk About It, Church Folk Day. We were talking about why it takes so long for these church services. Do y'all remember that? There were a whole lot that was, you know, being put out there in regards to that. The names. Lady Tamika was able to submit. Why do we go with these names? You know, man of God. That's what it was. Man of God. You know, woman of God. Is it really necessary to highlight that when you're speaking to someone? I don't know. What do y'all still think? Because y'all were putting in your 2 cents last week. So we have to make sure that we are extremely mindful of the terminology that we use, the terms of endearment, the titles that we give to each other. How much emphasis are we putting on the titles we give to each other, that we call each other, that we give to ourselves? Things that make you go, The titles we give to ourselves versus focusing on the assignment and mission that God has us on. You know, so I don't know. Make sure you go back and watch that. Make sure y'all go tell a friend, because it's Let's Talk About It Tuesday, Church Folk. Again, these weeks are flying by, y'all. I don't know about y'all, but it's like, I remember it being June 1st, and now we're here at Tuesday, June 24th. it's crazy. Before you know it, it'll be July 4th. Before you know it, it'll be Labor Day. Before you know it, it'll be the end of the calendar year again. So I don't know about y'all, but I've been enjoying the summer. This is my favorite season. It's supposed to be really hot, y'all. So make sure y'all keep y'all water jugs. Look, I got mine. Hold on. I got mine. Nice and faithful water jug. I know it's a little, a little easier to go fill it up with some juice and some soda. But if you want to stay healthy and hydrated, make sure y'all pay attention to those health tips that Pastor Steph gives every morning. You're going to want to make sure that you're on point, okay? But right now, we're going to make sure we go phone a friend, text a friend, let them know that it's Due Time with Pastor Steph is on this morning, featuring your girl Shontyce, and we are going to go into this health PSA for this morning, and we will be right back, y'all. Are y'all making sure that y'all doing this?
Harvard-trained gastroenterologist, and here are 3 drinks that can lower your cancer risk. The last one is my absolute favorite. But first, green tea. It is packed with antioxidants like catechins. Matcha is a concentrated form of green tea and therefore even more powerful. Second, green smoothie. Blend leafy greens like spinach or kale with cucumber, celery, and a little ginger. It is nutrient dense and anti-inflammatory. And last, and my favorite, turmeric latte. Curcumin fights inflammation and has anti-cancer properties. I make mine with almond milk and a pinch of black pepper to boost absorption.
Woo. Now, weren't we just talking about what we put into our jugs? Yes. Okay, now he just gave some really good tips as to what we should drink. Now, I kind of want to, because I've never been a milk girl. I've never liked milk. Let me tell y'all real quick why I never liked milk, right? Why I've been traumatized from really young when it comes to milk. Okay, so I remember being in daycare. Okay, I'm 39. Okay, I remember being in daycare, and they give you your lunch and your snacks, and they give you the milk. And I will never forget, it was me and a little boy. They had some of us children sitting on one side of the table and kids sitting on the other side of the table. And I remember having my milk carton open and drinking it and turning my head real quick. And when I turned back, he went, like, you could tell he like did something. And I remember looking like, okay, he looks kind of sus, but wasn't too sure. And I put the milk carton to my lips and I drank a little bit of it, and I have never tasted anything like it since. I don't know what this little boy had in his body or on his lips or what, but it was just, I can't even describe the taste. Ever since then, and it took me a long time to actually remember that happened, because I was like, I remember at one point I liked milk. And for some reason, anytime milk hit my stomach, it just never agreed with me. That's why. And I remember when I was younger, after that, when I was younger, and Pastor Steph used to always tell me, I don't care what happens, you don't ever take your eye off your drink. Did your parents ever give you that advice? And that really helped me out, because once I started partying literally 7 days a week, I could be in the club like this, 2-stepping. Let me go like this. Drink gone. It's trash. And it could have been in my hand. But you could have been standing there watching me, just waiting for my eye to leave my drink and then slip something in. Nope. So I never, ever, 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 ever since then took my eye off my drink and went back for it. If I did, if I had to, if I ended up being careless, that was just the end of the drink. So make sure that we're paying attention to the fact that we don't take our eyes off our drink, okay? Because there's a whole lot that's going on, and it could turn you off for some things. Now, I know there's a whole lot, we're not supposed to be consuming cow milk and all of that, but but even on a regular basis, just make sure you don't. So when we look at PSAs like this and we get the tips as to what we should be consuming, we got to make sure that we are on point. But let's get into who is in the room with us this morning. Who do we have? Good morning, Ketty. Ketty, you on first thing. Wait, is it your birthday Eve? Yes, it's your birthday Eve. Is that why you're on? Okay. I see you, Ketty. Good morning. Thank you for joining us. Who else we got? Good morning, Terrence. How are you? Yes, we are back on this morning. Giving God thanks. Are y'all making sure y'all staying cool? Starting your water. Do y'all remember the PSA that Pastor Steph played where they said we're supposed to start our day with drinking water? It helps. Good morning, Serge. Good morning. How are you? Who else we have? Good morning, Deacon Diallo. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. And we must make sure we are giving a very, very, very special thank you to our girl who holds it down in the back, who taught me how to work in Operation StreamYard in her absence. Good morning, Anika. Good morning. Thank you so much for always being available and always being ready. The term that says, make sure you stay ready so you don't have to get ready. I'm learning to appreciate that phrase a whole lot. Yes, praying that Pastor feels better soon. Making sure that we follow these PSAs, y'all. These holistic health tips that God gives us each and every morning. It's not just so that Pastor Steph can have something to play, y'all. It's actually something that we need to make sure that we are focusing on. Okay, so we normally start off with our health tips, but y'all know every Tuesday morning Pastor Steph loves to give y'all some trivia, and she actually sent me a few options, and I actually want to focus on, I can only focus on one, but it was one in particular that stood out to me that I thought would be very, very interesting, and especially with it being Let's Talk About It Tuesday, Church Folk Day. So this is something that we can actually really discuss and talk about and infuse with the church folk people. I mean, with everybody, but since it's church folk people today, we're going to do it. And it's 17 obvious things people had no idea were obvious until someone else pointed it out to them. Now, I don't know about y'all, but I get very, very upset when somebody got to tell me something about me, like I haven't been with me all this time and all day. Like I ain't know. And then now I got to sit there. And don't let it be something that I may not necessarily agree with. Then I'm really mad, because then I got to go to God and make sure that they on point. Then I got to go back to God and make sure He fixed my heart, so I can go back to them and apologize. It's just too much. It's just too much. So always staying before the Lord to ensure that you're on point with yourself. Because it's real easy to, what's that verse? It says, make sure you take the plank out of your own eye before you pay attention to the speck in someone else's. It's so easy to see the speck in other people's eyes. How like sometimes you see, I know me, I look at people and they be having coal in their eye, and then it's like, oh, well, do you have coal in your eye too? It's just really, really important to make sure that you're staying on top of you. Especially, okay, so since we're talking about church folk, right? Especially with church folk, y'all. Especially with church folk. God said that when He comes back, He's coming back for us first. So what does that mean? That stay woke phrase that everyone loved to hashtag at one point. Stay woke about yourself. All right. So let's see what they're saying here. So again, this is 17 obvious things that people had no idea were obvious until someone else had to point it out to them. Okay, so the first thing is how the American bill system works. I thought it was a sum of money you paid to avoid jail. I was surprised I realized you get the money back if you show up for trial. Okay, let me read that again because that had to sink in me. Because like Pastor Steph, I didn't pre-read any of these. Okay, so, and this is also, okay, so this is, well, same thing, but it's more towards things that people didn't realize outside of themselves as well. So we got to make sure. Okay, how the American bail system works. I thought it was a sum of money you pay to avoid jail. I was surprised when I realized you get the money back if you show up for your trial. Now, not for nothing, with all due respect, no shade, this isn't something that law-abiding citizens would have to really be up on. But I guess it's still good to know. I didn't know this either. I thought when you pay the bill, that's just money that's going forever and ever. Amen. But it's saying here that once you show for trial, you get the bail money back. How does that work for the criminals? As far as, is that a sigh of relief for them or for the family? Because most people who have to get bailed out, unless you're a kingpin, they don't have the money to really bail themselves out. It has to be their family and or friends. So it's saying it's true. If a judge grants bail, that means the defendant can pay that amount of money to the court and does not have to stay in jail until their court date at the end of the trial. Regardless of whether the defendant is determined to be guilty or not guilty, they get their bail money returned simply for showing up. So I guess that's like front money to, well, I guess that's a good incentive to appear back in trial because I get my money back. So, and you only get, well, you only have to pay 10% of whatever they say the bail is, right? So if they say $5,000, you only got to pay $500. I believe that's how it goes. Okay. All right, it says water towers are for water pressure, not just a town putting its name on a tank and saying, hey, look how much dang water we have. Okay, so I don't know, we don't have many water towers here in the hood, but I guess that's something that we really should know. Okay, what do they have next? That is called metal because it's harder than rock music. I don't know about y'all, but the rock and roll music, well, it's rock and roll music, heavy metal music. Isn't that music like demonic? Like, have you ever listened to a lot of the lyrics that come with the heavy metal? I don't know. Okay. I recently learned that goodbye is a shortened form of God be with you, which people in gay old England would say to each other. And then they put the definition of goodbye. Y'all know how I am with my definitions. And it is used to express good wishes when partying or at the end of a conversation. Have y'all ever spoken to someone and you're like, okay, bye, or see you later, bye, and they're like, don't say goodbye, say see you later. Used to express good wishes when partying or at the end of a conversation. What is the difference of whether I say, it's like it's been circulating throughout the streets that goodbye means you're gonna die or you're never gonna see the person again. And I don't know, y'all. What does it say? Who would have thought? Yeah, who would have thought that would be? And I've had people who like really get mad. Don't say bye. Say see you later. How about I say never talk to you again? Okay, because you're getting on my nerves. It's just certain things. It's like we really have to focus on what we put emphasis on. We have to stop putting emphasis on certain things. Okay, we have Tevin says the bail is really not that much as people think. Yeah, isn't it like the 10%? So if the judge says $5,000, you pay $500. If he says the bill is $200, you pay $20. That's how I always saw it. Thank God I ain't never did no bid like that. I've done. No, I haven't. No, let me stop lying. I ain't never did a bid with anyone I dealt with, or any. I haven't. No one in my family, ever really took us through that in that essence. So anything I know about that are from like documentaries I've watched, or actually friends that I've had who've gotten locked up, because I have a lot of those, and their family had to put up bail. But yeah, it's not as much. It's not as much. And again, $500 is a lot of money to someone who doesn't have it, and who really has it for bail. Who really has? Well, let me put this to the side in case so and so gets locked up. Yeah, no, Yeah, so we have to make sure. Right. Okay, see, I was right. All right, so I'm watching the right documentaries and paying attention to the things that I've learned from my friends. Okay. Okay, that one is silly. Okay. I was like 25 when I found out the jugs of washer fluid outside the gas station aren't free. I was walking out of the gas station with a buddy one day, grabbed a jug of washer fluid, and he asked me, "Did you just steal that?" I was like, "No, dude, it's free." Turns out it's not. I stole washer fluid for nearly 10 years of driving, and no one ever said anything to me about it. What washer fluid? Now I drive. Someone tell me what the washer fluid is. Washer fluid outside of the gas station. I don't know. Maybe let me drink some water because maybe the juice is just not flowing. I don't know. Okay. I was 20 something. I was a 20 something regular cannabis user struggling to clean my pipe when I finally realized that that's what pipe cleaners are for. Those fuzzy, bendable tubes weren't just for childhood crafts. That's why you got no business smoking. You don't know how to clean what you smoke out of? That's like eating things you can't pronounce. Come on. We gotta get this together, y'all. Come on now. Okay, yeah, my 21-year-old cousin just realized he is mildly allergic to peanut butter and has been his whole life. Until now, he had assumed everyone's throat closed up a little while eating a PB&J sandwich, but they just fought through it. Before we meditate on that, let's go. I think we got something about the washer fluid. I can't. Okay, LOL, the washer fluid, the windshield wash. Okay, I thought so, but I didn't want to sound slow. The windshield washer fluid, I guess they talking about. Yes. I thought it was a little more complicated than that, Terrence. Because all right, can we just dive real quick into this peanut butter and jelly debacle? So you've been allergic to peanut butter all your life, but you just thought that everybody who decided to eat a peanut butter and jelly sandwich experienced some hostility in their chest and throat and just fought through it. I don't think there's any food out here that would have the mass. How many people eat peanut butter and jelly sandwiches? I really don't think there's any food that would have the mass out here. Like, you know what? It's worth me not breathing. Everybody. That. Who would have thought? Who would have thought that we? Okay. Sometimes we gotta really utilize the brain cells that the Lord. And listen, we all have our slow moments. See, I have my slow moment with the wash fluid thing. You know, But come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. Okay. Let's see here what we got. Okay, I was at least 50 when I learned that the little piggy who went to the market wasn't going shopping. Moving on. What else we got here? Because it's 70, we're not going to go through all 70. Mama just quickly pick out a couple more, or a few more. Okay. Okay. What do we have? Okay, that my car key remote isn't broken. The battery just died after nearly 10 years. Okay. All right, we have peanut butter and jelly was the joint. Peanut butter and syrup was the joint, still is. All right. How did you get to peanut butter and syrup? Did you run out of jelly? And thought, well, what else can I put with this peanut butter? How did that work for you, Terrence? Okay, whoever that was wanted to die trying to fight through it. That's what I'm saying. I'm like, what food is that good that is gonna really have you like consistently experiencing that? Because all right, so Pastor Steph and I, we were shopping, and I don't know what it is about the fresh cherries. It's weird because like I could eat a fresh cherry right now, and my chest would get really tight. I could barely breathe, and I could try to eat it again, and I'd be fine. So I just stay away from the fresh cherries because I think it's safe to say I'm allergic to it. And it's so good, especially this time of year. It's hot outside. You get some real cold cherries. They are so good. But it's not worth me sitting in. What's the fun in that? What am I gaining out of life by gasping for air? I don't know. Okay, let's do one more. Let's do one more before we get into our news. Let's see. Okay, and finally, I should take this to the grave. But I somehow thought Mickey Mouse was a dog until I was 17. I'm 24 now. One day I just saw a Mickey Mouse somewhere and went, why does he have such a skinny little tail? It looks like a... Wait. Isn't he Mickey Mouse? I just thought that was the name. So on that note, we're going to move on to our news. We're going to move on to our news, y'all, because, oh my goodness. And you know what? Again, I'm sitting here and I'm laughing. But y'all, anyone who knows me, anyone who's my peoples, like for real, they know that I have my slow moments. As my 10-year-old niece says, child, I be going through it sometimes in here. And sometimes they gotta be like, Shontyce, do you hear yourself? But don't be judging me, y'all. Don't be judging me. So we got some news here, some very, very interesting news that we need to talk about on this morning because yes. Yes, Mickey Mouse. Right, his name says it. Like, which character, especially Disney, let me tell y'all, for those of us who are millennials and older, Disney don't play with their characters. So if he's Mickey Mouse, then he's a mouse. It's not like a lot of these other characters out here now that they're putting out these cartoons, and there's some new ones that's coming out. That's all right. But again, for those of us who are millennials and older, we know what it is to really have some real cartoon characters, and they just gonna have to. I don't know, y'all. I don't know. We gotta get it together. So what we got here? All right. We have our, and these are actually ones that Pastor Steph was able to send over because, again, her intentions was to be with y'all. Y'all know how she is about seeing y'all every day of the work week. But again, she had to take some rest. But we definitely, we got to talk about this. Let's talk about it Tuesday. And I'm going to keep saying Church Folk Day too because, again, we have to make sure that as church folk, our minds are right. So, the headline of this first story, and I have to go into this headline before we go into any of the details. I love him very much, but she ran over her boyfriend after she found some tampons in their garbage. Now, we know that unfortunately, men, y'all don't wear tampons. So what does that mean? That means that y'all have somebody with y'all who wears tampons. And come on, y'all. When are we going to rise as a people and start thinking? If you cheating, you really going to have her in there with you and she's going to dispose of her sanitary pad, her tissue, her tampon in the garbage in the house. All right, let's get into this really quick. So we have 31-year-old Julia from Nevada, who is now sentenced to spend time in prison because she found tampons in her boyfriend's garbage. Okay, she did plead guilty for voluntary manslaughter and a DUI resulting in death. And this actually took place back in March, y'all. So, wait, it's saying after initially being charged with open murder and other felonies in connection with the death of her 51-year-old boyfriend, who was also a criminal. He had a record. So, I don't know. So it says prosecutors are saying that the entire act was caught on a Ring camera, goodness gracious, and that the tampons most likely belonged to his roommate. So if you had a DUI, then you were already drunk when you got there. You were already out of sorts. So he had a female roommate. And then now so you're thinking the tampons was his, I'm sorry, was from a woman he was sleeping with when it was the roommates. Okay, wait, we have some quotes from her. I love him very much. I'm sorry that he passed away and I wish I could change it, but I can't. And I know there's not a sentence in the world that's going to make anybody satisfied. And you know, reading this, it makes me think about the story that Pastor Steph did regarding the two, were they friends? Weren't they friends? And they were drinking, and one dared the other one to throw the gasoline. So she threw the gasoline, but to actually set him on fire, and he just kept daring her, and then she finally set him on fire. That's what that just reminded me of. You're already drinking. You drive over to your boyfriend's house. You find tampons in there, and you already get all out of sorts. Meanwhile, he's living with a female. So the victim's mother told the court, she says, my son wasn't perfect. He made plenty of mistakes and poor choices during his life. His biggest mistake was ever getting involved with Julie Bush. I'm sorry, her name is Julie. Did I say Julia? Julie. She made his life a living hell. He previously, before his fatality, one of the things he served time for was committing unemployment insurance fraud and took an Alford plea in connection with a murder that took place back in 2008. So his role that he had in that. So unfortunately, he wasn't a law-abiding citizen. I mean, that doesn't call for anyone to get locked up. I mean, die. But yeah, she's in jail now feeling dumb because now you're sober-minded. That's what, it's for those of us who used to drink or still drink, but maybe don't drink as much, now being on the opposite side of always being drunk or tipsy, you really see, and especially if you're getting closer and closer to God, you really see how alcohol really impairs your judgment. That's why that whole you can drink but not get drunk. Come on, like let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Pastor Vinny, please remember that. Let's talk about that. Let that please be one of the things that we highlight in our conversation. Try saying that to someone who wasn't a lush, meaning someone who didn't drink a lot. Try telling that to people who weren't lushes, weren't alcoholics, whether functioning or just an alcoholic. The point in drinking is for there to be some level of alteration in your mind. If not, you would drink water, Kool-Aid, soda, things that are not fermented. Okay, so stop trying to play me. Stop trying to play God, because that's what you really trying to play. All right, and this is what happens when you ingest things, whether it's drugs, alcohol, that now alter your mind. These are the things that ends up happening. You know that your man lives with a female, but now you go over there, you see female paraphernalia, and you lose it. Now you want to run them over. Come on, y'all. We got to get this together. Okay. The rest of this is just kind of okay. So it says Julie Bush was initially charged with open murder, DUI resulting in death, DUI resulting in substantial bodily harm, domestic battery, attempted murder, and drug possession after pleading guilty to DUI resulting in death and the lesser charge of voluntary manslaughter. She was sentenced to 12 to 35 years in prison. Wait, hold on. Says woman who plowed into boyfriend after finding another woman's tampon in the garbage. Lost her fate. First appeared on Law and Crime. Okay. Yeah, so again, like Pastor Steph always says, they're going to nail you for everything. So wait, what do they have here? She's charged with open murder, DUI resulting in death, DUI resulting in substantial bodily harm, domestic battery, attempted murder, drug possession, and voluntary manslaughter. At least seven charges. 12 to 35 years in prison. Do y'all think that was enough time? Do you think? Terry says alcohol is just like a gun. It gives you superpowers to some people. It does. It does. Whether it's the power, it gives you power, right? It ain't the power from God. Whether it gives you the power to be honest when you shouldn't be. Because no one ever gets drunk and does noble things. Because it's not designed to be that way. Okay? You start saying things you ain't got no business saying, telling truths you ain't got no business telling, doing things you ain't got no business doing, or how about the drunks who sit there and they just quiet? They ain't meant for you to be quiet right now. See? So, come on, y'all. We gonna have to get this together. For those, let's talk about it. For those who still think, first of all, it's too hot to drink. But for those who still think that they can be out here bugging out, you're gonna have to make sure that you stay on point, because this is some stuff. Now this next story, I don't know where Pastor Steph was getting these stories from, but goodness gracious. So we have a guy here. Hold on, let's see what his name is. Because this here was Andrew Gutierrez. I believe his name is Andrew Gutierrez. I think that's his name. Okay, so this is a man from Texas, and he is locked up right now. He's in prison for locking a pregnant woman up inside his RV and beating her until she became unconscious. And he kept telling the expectant mother, "Welcome to Hell House." And he said that to her before he actually started assaulting her physically, which ended up being punching her, kicking her, and kneeing her. Now you're doing all this to a pregnant woman. I think it's safe to say that she was showing a whole lot. Meaning, she wasn't like, "Oh, I can't tell that you're pregnant." No. Probably tell maybe her water was about to break. So this is 35-year-old Andrew Gutierrez. I believe that's how you pronounce his name. Oh, and he was actually sentenced to 25 years last week. And he was convicted of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon in the attack of this pregnant woman. And he also has a past conviction that took place back in 2016, where he was convicted of assault, family violence continuance, and he serves 5 years in prison for that. Okay, so there was a 911 call that was made by the victim after this guy here, Andrew, was able to abduct the pregnant woman and get him into his RV. When the cops arrived on the scene, she was severely beaten. The bruises, the swelling, they said, was just completely out of control. They saying that there was swelling to the victim's face, her stomach, and her chest. Now she's pregnant, so of course, what's the first thing when we watch, movies or shows or documentaries or whatever, and there's women who are pregnant in these domestic violence, that's most of the time when it ends up happening, these domestic violence relationships, and they get attacked. The first thing the woman does is she tries to cover her stomach. It's like kick me in my face. Normally you try to block your face, but I got this baby to protect. And I can't even imagine just like being attacked like that and feeling so helpless, because it's like I gotta protect two people. Even if I don't care about myself, I care about my baby. I still gotta protect me in order to protect the baby that I'm carrying. Okay. Oh wait. I was wrong, y'all. She was only 11 weeks pregnant at the time. But still, that could result in a miscarriage. But I'm thinking she was actually showing more. Okay, so the victim says that she and Andrew got into an argument, and the Andrew then locked her in the RV and started saying, "Welcome to Hell House," threatening to make sure she didn't have the baby. So it wasn't necessarily saying, from where I was able to glance at earlier, if the baby was his, but if it wasn't, would he be trying to do all that? I don't know. So punching her, he also tried to attack her with a 10-inch kitchen knife, threatening to kill her, but then just kept punching her and slapping her around and everything. And she was actually able to call the police while he was outside trying to get rid of the evidence. And when he noticed that the police was coming, he then ran to her and said, try to fabricate the story that some females came and tried to beat you up so I won't get in trouble. What? You care about getting in trouble now? Bro, you're in jail for 25 years, bro. You gotta get it together, y'all. We gotta get it together. They're not necessarily saying who this was to her, but it may be safe to say they argued. He's saying, "Welcome to Hell House," pulled a kitchen knife on her. Okay, wait, hold on. In addition to the victim's statement, additional evidence, including the kitchen knife, was located on the scene. Okay, so Andrew was charged instantly of family violence in addition to assault. So he must serve at least half of his sentence before he can be eligible for parole. And I actually agree with Pastor Steph. How does that work with all these violent crimes? I don't know. Do y'all think that they should get parole after they've been committing all these violent crimes? Okay, Terrence says, we also got to remember alcohol. Oh, okay, it's going back to the previous story. We also got to remember the alcohol brings out our real feelings. When we truly feel about someone, it's coming out. That's what I'm saying. That's the sick truth serum. Okay, Thomas also says he don't need to see the day of light ever again. That, I can't even imagine being like, oh my gosh. Okay, we have one more story here. Let's see what we can get into. Okay, we have, oh no, we gotta talk about this one, y'all. We have to talk about this one. Wait, I'm sorry. Let me try to pull it up. Because this one really, you talking about scratching your head. So we have, the headline reads, "Maniac barges into NYC courthouse and slashes officers in the neck, face, in the chaotic scene." Now, before we read over this real quick, have you ever been to a courthouse? I've been to a courthouse. Have y'all ever been through, sometimes it's worse than going through TSA at the airport. It's like, you got to take your belt off. You can't bring any, well, I guess it's just like TSA. You got to take your belt off. Well, you don't think you got to take your belt off. You can't bring anything in there to drink. They really scan you. They go through your thing. So just reading the headline alone, I'm like, maniac what? All right. 37-year-old Jonathan Wool from Queens. It says he stormed into the lobby of a Manhattan criminal court at about 9:30 in the morning and ambushed the officers with a knife. Now, I'm wondering if these officers were on this side of the metal detectors or on the other side of metal detectors. So they did have some security footage of the attack. And it says he first calmly entered the courthouse and approaching the metal detector before charging at a court officer. So, do we need to? It says the attack is believed to have been targeted. The maniac then pivots and pounces on another officer, stabbing him repeatedly. So he stabbed the first officer. He then was able to get to a second officer, stabbing him repeatedly and slashing his neck and face before a whole lot of other officers stormed over there and poured into the lobby and tackled him and was able to retrieve the weapon from him. Oh my gosh, I need to see this picture of him. I didn't even know if there was a clear picture. This says the officers who were able to storm in to then pin him to the ground carried him out of the courthouse in handcuffs. The injured officers were hospitalized but in stable condition, thank God. One was trying to hide his face as he was being carried out, the cop. And it says that the charges are pending against the attacker, but officials believe that it was targeted. This is some like, you took a chance. So this was like I'm gonna commit this crime, but also suicide, because so if he was able to attack the cops, but like at the metal detectors, then they may need to start getting people checked out as soon as they walk in the door. Because I know, especially the courthouse in the Bronx, like you walk in and you got to still kind of walk around a little bit, and you got to go through like the little maze, and then you walk up to the metal detectors once they call you to tell you that they're ready for you to walk through theirs and scan your things and all of that. So maybe they need to start doing it at the door now that people, but I'm wondering, it's not saying, they're saying they believe it was targeted, but why? You know, or what are these officers, the arresting officer, or he had a case in there and get mad. He was mad because of how to hit. I don't know. But let's talk to our due time crew. Let's pull up Pastor Vinny.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you, Pastor Vinny?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well.
Very good. Very good. How was your
my
weekend?
jug.
Yeah, see? It's too hot to be playing games, Pastor
Oh yeah.
Vinny.
And we down here in the belly of the beast.
Yeah,
but,
I was gonna ask, what's the weather down there?
Well, Shontyce, it is not as hot down here as it is up there.
That's the same, because it's 98 degrees here today, so I can imagine what it is there.
No, you're about 10 degrees hotter than us right now.
Oh,
yes.
Wow.
Yes, you guys are catching a case. I don't know what y'all did to deserve it, but y'all need to be repenting. Y'all need to be asking God for forgiveness so y'all can get some cool breezes.
Oh, and you know what's crazy? Everyone thinks I'm crazy because it's hot, but I love the summer. I'd rather deal with this than the winter. You know, I had to walk up to my niece's school yesterday, which is only up the block, and it was hot, but I'm like, okay. But had it been the winter, I was like, I'd have to bundle up like I'm about to travel across the world, and I'm only going up the block. No, I'd rather this. I'd rather, if New York could be like Florida and all that, where it's hot all the time, I would really love it. But I ain't moving. Mm-hmm. I don't think I'm ever moving.
Yeah, the summer heat is wonderful, as long as you're not a mailman and you have to work in that heat.
Right.
10 hours a day, like I did.
Right. Oh my goodness. Yeah, and I feel so bad for them. We're always offering them ice cold water, and they're like, "Oh, I have. Take more. Take more." Because you just never. By the time this ice melts, you be to finish the water you already had. You'll be happy. Yes. Right. Oh, but let's get into this news, Pastor Vinny, because I think this Let's Talk About It Tuesday, Church Folk Day. It's not necessarily a church topic, but these are things that us church folk need to make sure we're assisting God with leading the world in the mentality of the thinking. So the first story, I love him very much, but I'm gonna run him over with my car and kill him because I went to his house and found tampons in his garbage, even though he has a female roommate.
Oh boy, this hits on so many different levels. You know, first of all, what are you doing looking in this garbage? What would draw you to be looking at somebody else's garbage? It's evidently something he don't want or whatever. And why would you just jump to the conclusion? And that's what happens with us. We see something and we just jump to he must be cheating on me. He must have somebody else in there. Oh no, he can't do that to me. Let me get in my car and run him over.
Yes.
No. Come on, people.
God.
Come on, people. You know?
Yeah, but that's a good question, Pastor Vinny, because it's unless you have the whatever it is sitting on the very top, which is nasty.
Yes.
But because there are proper ways for us women to dispose of those things, where you could know that's I'm on my cycle right now, but not because of what you see in the garbage, maybe because of my mood, maybe because I just told you or whatever. But you shouldn't be able to just glance down, or you go to throw something out and now you see this sitting here. It's like, come on.
Right.
Come on. So, but like you said, we don't know. She could have been going through it, or it could have just, the roommate was careless and just tossed it on the top. But it's what are your thoughts on the effect that alcohol has on us in regards to now our mentality, our judgment, our decision making?
Yeah, I was never a party person, and you don't necessarily have to be a party person to be a drinking person. Right. But I really never had personally dealt with it. But I've seen it. I've seen it in the neighborhood. There was this guy that stayed drunk so forever. Anytime you saw him, he was like beet red. Spanish guy, he was beet red. They used to call him Mr. Lobster, the Lobster Man, because he had, and you could smell the alcohol pouring out of his veins, out of his pores, 24/7. I don't think there was a time that he never was sober. But I never heard him commit any crime. He just drunk himself silly, and just that's how he enjoyed his life. But now with this story, he was like, what, 20 years older than her, 30 years older than her?
Yes, because I believe he was like 51.
Uh-huh.
And she was 37, 30 something. Hold on. Let me double check. Yeah. So about almost a 20-year difference.
Yeah, and so even that, the mindset is very different.
Right.
The mindset is very different, and it's obvious that she really didn't trust this old man.
Right.
She really didn't trust him, and I mean, actually, the shoe should be on the other foot. He should be the one that's afraid that this young thing is going to, move on from him.
Right.
So she's the one that he's the one that has something to lose. And she's going along for the ride.
Right. Yes. Yes, she's 31 and he's 51. So
31. Yeah. So 20 years is 20 years.
Yes.
20 years is 20 years. You want to say, what is this old man doing with this young girl?
Right. Right. Right.
But it's just it's just foolish the way the mind works. You know, especially when you're under the influence.
Absolutely.
You don't have to make sense. It's like you're just going through the motions.
Right. Absolutely. Well, let's see what Pastor KL has to say, because this was a little interesting to me. Good morning, Pastor KL.
Good morning. God bless you, wonderful people. Hallelujah. Thank you, Jesus.
Good morning, my brother.
How are you doing on this Tuesday morning? How hot is it down there?
Oh man, it's 84 right now, going to 101.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's been quite hot for the last week and a half.
Oh, are you gonna fry fish out on the sidewalk today?
No, I don't go outside. You know, I stay where the AC is. You know, I'm what they call dark skin. You know what I mean? I can't afford to be outside.
Oh my God. I had my sister tell me yesterday. She said, "Man, if I was a slave, they would just have to beat me because I
man. This is the kind of weather where you gotta know Jesus. Because if you can't take this heat, you definitely don't want to go to hell. You know, this right here will promote the church. This right here. I love you, Lord. Every day I get up and say I love you.
Oh my gosh. Oh. Well, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Now, what do you think about this 31-year-old who got drunk, because they're saying that she was arrested for a DUI? Wait, how is it saying? Pleaded guilty to voluntary manslaughter and DUI resulting in death. So it sounds as though she was already drunk before she got to him.
Yeah, she was drunk. She was not in her right mind, and she was kind of crazy. Because first of all, listen, even if you go in the garbage, let's say we went into the garbage or we snooped around, and you see a bloody tampon. One thing for me to know is he didn't have sex, so he didn't cheat on you. So what you mad at?
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't know. Why are you upset?
Right.
You should be happy she was bleeding. Somebody blocked it. Come on.
But you know what? Unfortunately, there are some people who will still engage in sexual activity during that time.
Well, that ain't the person you need to be with. He's nasty.
Exactly.
Listen, it's something about singing the song. I know it was the blood and being in the blood.
Oh no, you didn't. No.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, shame on you. Shame on you.
Yes, no, but again, it goes back to what we've been saying. All that logic leaves once you're intoxicated. You're not even considering those things. Like, okay, well, what are the chances of y'all engaging in that if she's, experiencing this right now? But it's just, oh, this is a sign of a woman. Now I gotta kill you. I got to cut you. Now I gotta get you. That's all. It's just like rage that you feel because there's no time for logic once you've been drinking. No. And if you, I think it's safe to say, if you was already drinking on your way there as a woman, you already conjuring up some stuff in your head. So now all you need to do is get there and get some type of confirmation as to what you were already thinking. It's over for whoever's on the other side of where you're going. Mm-hmm. Because I'm already hot. I've been drinking. Right. I'm driving. I got a goal. And I ain't trying to get to my goal. Sometimes you're so mad, but by the time it gets to like the point of you actually being able to do something, you done tired yourself out. Because it's like, listen, I done traveled here. I ain't even that mad no more. But because of the alcohol, that helps to keep your adrenaline, going. And of course, and I believe all the female viewers will agree, all you need, if anything will keep your adrenaline going, is thinking your man cheated. You could do that sober. Now just put alcohol on it. Now just add alcohol to it. It's really over. It is really over.
That's ice cream on the cake.
Right. It's just really done for him. Oh my gosh. Okay, so now we have this house of hell where you have this man who viciously attacked this pregnant woman. She was 11 weeks pregnant and pulled a kitchen knife on her, threatened and said she better not have this baby. But thank God didn't stab her, but was viciously punching, kneeing, kicking her to the point where she became unconscious. She was able to call the cops while he was outside of the RV trying to dispose of any evidence, and then went and told her to tell the cops that some females came and jumped her so that he wouldn't get in trouble. And he's been sentenced to 25 years. And but before he started actually beating her up, when he got her and took her to the RV, he said, "Welcome to Hell House." Pastor Vinny, what is happening here?
This is another ludicrous situation. This young girl, we just allow ourselves to be put in these situations where, we don't have any control, situations that we probably don't belong. And this guy, I mean, it's evident that we're not getting the whole story. We're getting pieces of information, but, sometimes you got to make up in your own mind what's really going on. This is not a guy that's caring about not only this female, but about the baby that she's carrying. There should be some kind of conscience, about what's going on. But he don't care. If he, did they say he had another issue when he served time before? I'm getting the two stories kind of confused.
Yes.
He did serve time before, right?
Yes, back in 2016.
Yes.
For family assault.
Yes. So he just rested a couple of years, and now he's back at it. Now he's just back at it. I mean, he don't need to be, with anybody, because he's a loose cannon. He's a loose cannon just waiting for the next victim.
Yes, unfortunately. And he obviously didn't want to kill her, because after pulling the knife out on her, he threw it on the table and just kept beating up on her. So, and once she said she needed some type of medical attention, that's when he said to her, I mean, you should have been able to see that she needed it, because look at what you did. Yeah. That's when he then told her to lie and say some females assaulted her. And that's what happened, instead of him beating up on her. Pastor KO, what are your thoughts on here?
My thoughts is a couple of things. First of all, if you would beat your natural family, that's not a relationship I'm going to be in. Because if you don't care about your blood, you don't care about me. The second issue I have is that, I don't think he had enough time, because I think it was premeditated murder, because the beat was for you to kill the baby. So that's what it was. I mean, you was upset of not having the baby, but you was trying to make sure that she wouldn't have this baby by beating her. You talked about her belly was swollen, so you was targeting the child. So all this was premeditated. So after you done did your 5-year bid, we know who you are now. Right. We know this is who you are. So now to do 25 more years? No. So what, you gonna come back out, take another breather, and beat somebody else up? When is too much too much?
Absolutely. And it was saying here, because I thought that she was big as well, it's saying here that she was 11 weeks. But as we all know, once you're pregnant, if she lost the baby, he could get charged for murder.
Right.
But she could have been a day pregnant, 2 days pregnant. Once it's like she was pregnant and that life was lost, you're getting charged for that. So that's why I was like, it's interesting how they didn't mention, if this was the child's father or a friend of the father, and maybe he got the guy to beat her up because he didn't want to have the baby, or however that worked. But all it said was that they got into an argument, and this is what resulted from the argument. So, we gotta now. I believe his name was Jonathan. This is Jonathan Wall from Queens, who stormed the courthouse and got to one of the officers right before the metal detectors, and then was able to stab up another officer before then being bombarded by all the other officers that you know in the courthouse. Like, how far did you think you were going to go? Or maybe just one or two was good enough for him. And now you're going to face some serious time, because not only did you assault someone, but you assaulted two cops, two officers. Pastor Vinny, what's happening here?
That's called death by police. That's called death by police. I mean, you don't have to have glasses to see the outcome of this story. I don't care if you get 3 of them, 30 of them are going to come and get you.
Right.
You are not going to. And what kind of foolish to me is, what were these guys doing that they didn't see this guy coming? All of their attention is supposed to be on who's coming through that door. You know, what had their attention that they couldn't see this guy, and then brandishing a knife?
Right.
I mean, thank God it wasn't worse.
Yeah. Yes.
Thank God it wasn't worse.
Yes, that he didn't come in there with a gun.
Yeah. I mean, and obviously this guy was not well. Whatever plan or purpose he had in his mind, he was not well. And after you got in there and you got 2 of them, it's like, oops. Now what do I do? You know?
Right.
Which way do I go, George? Which way do I go? You know, he is in the thick of things, and now it's their turn to repay the favor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
absolutely.
He was looking for a death wish.
That's what it seems.
I don't know who he was mad at. I don't know who he was mad at, who was trying to take it out on. But buddy, it's your turn now.
Oh my goodness. Pastor KO, what do you think about this? I'm going to read the headline one more time. Maniac barges into NYC courthouse and slashes officers in the neck and the face.
Well, he was on suicidal watch. It's either 2 things, and just to be honest, it's either that he had priors, he's been in jail before, and he doesn't, and he's gotten out, and does not know how to deal with society. Society's beating him up. He does not. He might have been in for a while. Does not know how to cope with the outside. Right. So he needs to get back in. And this is a sure way to get back in. Either 2 things are going to happen to me. Either they're going to put me back into what I'm used to, or they're just going to take me out of my misery, because I can't deal with the outside. A lot of folks who have been in prison for a long time, you know, they went in with the bell bottoms and the fish tank shoes, and now that they come out and we got, you know, smartphones and stuff like that, they can't adapt to stuff like that. You know what I mean? Where they used to people telling them turn sideways, turn right ways. Now I have to think for myself. I can't do that. So the sure way for me to go back to what I'm used to is I gotta get a cop, because either they're gonna kill me or they're gonna surely put me back.
And that's so scary. Like, let's talk about that for a little bit, because we've heard that a lot of the times. We see it where it doesn't have to necessarily be said. Where do you think? I mean, it's kind of obvious, but everyone's case isn't exactly the same, even though everyone kind of ends up on the same, or a lot of people end up on the same end. When you're so enslaved mentally to a condition, and now it's like, okay, I have to go back. And that's actually the last switch tip that God gave us last week. Stop going back to what you knew best. And God highlighted the verse of, it's like a dog going back to its vomit. And I gave the verbal depiction, when you throw up, think about any time you've thrown up, especially if you weren't able to make it to the bathroom, and you were able to throw up in the toilet. That's easy. You just flush it. But think about the times, even if you were a kid, even if it didn't happen in your adult life. For those who drink, it doesn't happen in your adult life. You done threw up somewhere that either you feel sorry for whoever had to clean up behind you, or you had to clean it up. And think about everything that came up when you threw up. And you looking at the chunks of food and everything, and it's stinking and whatever. And then you walk away from that. And then a little while later, you like, let me go back and let me lick that back up. That's exactly what we do when we go back to what we knew best. Pastor Vinny, how do you see that, how people get back to that mindset and that mentality? Like, even when God allows them to experience some level of freedom, they still try to go back.
Yeah, it's I don't know if you're familiar with that movie, Shawshank Redemption.
Yes.
About these guys, it's been on TV quite a bit in the last couple of weeks. But this one guy spent 50 years in prison. 50 years. Finally got his parole. Got out. They put him in a halfway house. But he just could not deal with this new fast-paced life, and so he ends up committing suicide. He didn't go back to committing a crime, but he just could not deal with this new life. And that's what I guess that's the mindset. It's just impossible. They call it. One guy called it. They were institutionalized. He was used to even asking when he could go to the bathroom.
On the outside.
Yeah, on the outside. He said he couldn't even squeeze a drop unless he had somebody to give him somebody with authority allowed him to have permission to go, use the bathroom. And this is a horrible way to be, because you really run out of options. You really run out of options. I'm either going to end this thing right now, or I'm going to do something to get me back to where at least I know what I'm supposed to do.
Right. Oh, goodness. Yeah. Pastor KL, what do you think about, how people end up getting there to where, because as Pastor Vinny, you were explaining that with Shawshank Redemption, my mom was going to the movie Life with Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence and Can't Get Right. Was it Can't Get Right? No, it wasn't Can't Get Right. It was the other one. And he was being released, but he ended up developing a homosexual lifestyle. And he was so fearful of how his mother was going to receive him when he got home. So their thing was, you weren't allowed to go to a certain point in the field. If you went to a certain point in the field, everyone knew that the guards were going to shoot you. So he had like a day or two to be released, but he ended up running to that part of the field to get killed. Because it was just like, I can't fathom going home. How am I going to explain to my mother that this is not my lifestyle? It's easier for me to stay here, but that the jail ain't just going to keep you there. It's like the hospital. They're not just going to keep you in the hospital. Once they feel like you've gotten better, they're kicking you out. Even after you have a baby now, it's like, once they say push the last time, you home. And it's like, well, what?
We need the bed.
Like, right, can she heal and relax for 2 days before y'all then put her back out into the world? So what do you, Pastor KO, think about that when it comes to just having that enslaved mindset to where you go back to what was damaging you?
Yeah, it becomes difficult. A lot of times, we talk about dead man walking, but we are truly dead man walking because in our mind we're already dead.
Yeah.
This is something we've already got conditioned with. So when you're at your mother's house and your mother says every morning you got to make up your bed, you're conditioned that way. This is what you do. Now when you have to go out and pay bills yourself, how many times we really thought our mother had a tree in the backyard with
Man,
money?
listen.
You know what I mean? We thought we pulled $1 off, or if we seen money in our mother's bag and we asked for something and she said I don't have no money, we thought she was lying. You know what I mean? Because we see the money, we see the fruit of the labor.
Right.
And a lot of times when we go out now and we got to pay our own bills, we got to pay our own rent, we got to pay. Listen, we got money, but we ain't got money. Exactly. And sometimes the pressure of life is really getting on us. Just like, listen, the prodigal son said, listen, my daddy's slaves, servants have more than I have right now.
Yeah.
But I begged to be out here. I begged for you to give me what belongs to me so I can live this riotous life. And then I realized that while I'm out here, man, I had a much better way I was. So even though that I'm in jail, sometimes jail is much better, than where I'm going, because I don't know how to deal with where I am. So listen, at least the people, I had shower 3 times a week. At least, you know what I mean? I had a roof over my head. At least, these are the things we start saying at least, and it seemingly looks better than freedom.
Yeah.
Well, I need to have a transparent moment, because it wasn't until you said something, Pastor KL, because I was speaking to Pastor Steph yesterday, and I told her that there's been a build-up, and I have finally, yesterday morning, I just had this, I feel like I had like this mental and emotional breakdown, because I've been feeling like I haven't been living up to where I know I can be and where I should be. And it seems as though in my once upon a time life, like I was making moves. Now, my once upon a time life, I wasn't paying God and Jesus no kind of mind. I was working, I was making my money, I was doing what I was doing, I was pursuing what I was pursuing, and I felt like I was making moves. And now it's like I see that I'm doing a lot of what God has ordained for me to do. But at the same time, there are a lot of times now I'm looking over to my left and I'm like, but they ain't acknowledging you, God, but yet they got such and such and such and such and such. And I'm sitting over here without such and such and such and such. How does this work? How does this look that I'm observing you, I'm going to church, I'm the Christian, but yet they're saying they don't believe in you or your word, but it looks like they're flourishing. And we know the Bible talks about that a whole lot. Don't envy the wicked because it looks like they have. And I was just telling her, like, I feel like, this part of my life needs to be better or should be at this point. And there's been a lot of God showing me as to why he still has me planted here, mentally here, physically here, why listen, I ain't got no money. Okay, I keep telling people, when y'all open y'all bank account online and they got the 2 numbers and then the 2 little numbers, a lot of times I used to only have the 2 little numbers, which were the cents. But yet he's entrusting me to assist other people with handling their finances. And I'm like, well, how this work? How this work that I don't have my own money, but people still calling me to borrow money and I'm able to lend it? I'm like, where am I getting this money? I'm like, and it goes back to when the Bible says you will be the lender and not the borrower. And I'm like, but when I read that, I'm thinking, because I'm working, I have a consistent income and I'm lending them my money. Where is this money coming from that I'm able to lend these people who are working? See, I'm working, but I'm not working a regular job.
Right.
You know what, Shontyce?
Yes.
And not to cut you off, but you just walked into my... When you get off, look at my post for this morning. And my post simply said that God won't always give you what you prayed for, but he'll give you what you waited for. Because them that wait upon the Lord. Sometimes you got to wait for certain things. We pray for a lot of stuff, but sometimes we have to wait for God to give you what you need. So don't worry about how you feel. You should have been progressing more, or whatever. In due season, if you faint not, God is. Y'all better go ahead. I feel my help coming on. Go ahead.
No, but even when you're saying about the prodigal son, and when he said, I begged you for what was owed, because we know God doesn't owe us anything, but I begged for my inheritance, because that's pretty much what he got early, so I can go out and do.
But see, even that was a lie. It was not his inheritance. He begged for something that didn't belong to him. The inheritance went to the older son, so he got the older son money. It didn't belong to him at all. But because we keep on saying, "Mama, you gonna buy me this? Mama, you gonna buy me this? Mama, gonna buy me this?" Yeah, just take it. Go away. Go away. That's what happens. He got to just take it. Go away. But it didn't belong to him.
Let's talk about it. See, because I'm serious, because it was. I was just so mad, and I'm like, it has nothing to do with age. It's like, you think about your age sometime, but I'm like, this has been for a long, ever since God pretty much took me off the workforce. It's been this on and off feeling like, because like, I know what it is to work and make money and have 2 jobs at once and and have my own car and do this, and I ain't gotta look over and ask nobody, you got $5, I can go to the store. It's just like certain things play on, on your pride, but at the same time, God is showing, but this is why I'm allowing you to stay here and stop looking at what everybody else is doing and what makes sense to the world, because it does make sense to the world to have your own. But then I really had the same thing too, like, but how many people did I know that really got their own? They look like it. Yeah. But because God allows me to see past what the average pair of eyes see, you ain't making it. You may have your own apartment, but it's still someone else funding your rent.
That's right.
Or your mortgage, or your bills, or your food, But it's just the appeal of everything, the appearance of everything. And then we end up, walking into stories like this because we're trying to keep up with what everybody else is doing. So I just had to throw that in there. I'm sorry, because that was, it was ringing out. I was just talking to Pastor Steph about that. And of course she gave me some words and things to think about. But once I heard that part, I was just like, yeah, okay, you asking, and what if God is still saying, you're still not ready to handle it the way I need you to handle it? Well, I could let you, I could say, go ahead, get out of here, and you make a mess of yourself. Because one thing I always said to my mother, I've been trying to move since 19. I was able to move a lot of times, but God always stepped in and was like, yeah, no, I was always able. And one of the things I always told her was, I would have done whatever I needed to do to not come back. Not because she wouldn't have taken me back, but my pride wouldn't have let me come back. That means I'd have been out there doing what? To make sure I kept money in my pocket. A whole lot of let's talk about it things.
Well,
I would have had a whole lot more Once Upon a Time stories on the Due Time with Pastor Steph, because it would have been, no, I'm not going back and telling mommy I gotta come back home. No, I'm going back and saying, no, I gotta make my money like this. I gotta make my money like that. No. So yeah, that was just so pivotal right there. Yeah. Oh my goodness, it's messy. But there was another story that I would actually like to go over real quick and be able to break down. So we have a gentleman from Nashville, Tennessee, and it's really sad. I want to read the headline real quick. It's man shot girlfriend and her 5 children, killing 4-year-old girl after a domestic dispute in a minivan. And once I read that part, I was just like, okay. So you have 26-year-old Jovian T. Smith. He allegedly opened fire on his girlfriend and her 5 children, killing one of them, which was the 4-year-old. Okay, so he was 26. His girlfriend was 41. Well, he's 26. His girlfriend was 41. And her 5 children. Now he's currently being held in custody on a $2.6 million bond. And he's got finished talking about the bail and all of that. So I don't know if they'll have to pay 10% of that, but even 10% of $2.6 million, who has that just lying around? So actually one of the children miraculously was not struck at all by the gunfire. They say that this happened after a domestic dispute between him and the girlfriend, and they have not given her name. Because of the couple and the woman's 5 children, and the children ages ranged from 1 to 13 years old. So they were traveling in this minivan, and then an argument took place, and then that sparked some type of fight, physical fight within the van. So I can't even imagine these children sitting in the van and they're watching their mother physically fight some man while they're driving in the car. Says so him, Jovion Smith, he grabbed her phone and threw it out the window. And he also tried to grab the steering wheel of the van. So he tried to grab it to, derail the car. And it says the woman was able to pull the vehicle over. And then that's when Smith opened fire on her, hitting her multiple times. But she was able to escape and run out. But while she ran, he then turned the gun on the children, firing several shots at them while inside the van. And the cops were saying that the 4 children who were hit, they unfortunately suffered multiple gunshot wounds each. And 2 of the children still remain in critical condition. The guy, Jovion, after he shot the kids, he then kept trying to pursue the woman. So he chased after her, but she ran door to door asking for help. And that's when the cops were able to report on the scene. And they're saying that the cops reported quickly. So thank God for that, because I don't know about y'all, but anytime I've experienced calling the police for anything because of the car accident I got into or anything, the cops always take like 80 years to come, and there's always some excuse as to why you got to call them 90 times. They always have an excuse. So thank God they actually showed up early, because she probably wouldn't have made it. And so it's saying this Jovion Smith is charged with 1 count. Okay, here go the counts. Charged with 1 count of criminal homicide, 5 counts of attempted criminal homicide, 3 counts of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, and 1 count of aggravated burglary. And he's currently in custody again, being held on this $2.6 million bond. So you have a 26-year-old dealing with a 41-year-old. God knows what kind of argument that was. You're 26 dealing with someone who's 41 and her 5 children. Y'all get into some type of fight. You not only shoot her, but after she flees, you then turn the gun and shoot the kids. Why? Because you want to try to get away with everything? Because the ages are 1 to 13. So you figure, well, let me just take them out because they're old enough to tell. Pastor Vinny, let's talk about this here. What do you think about this age difference? Do you think that plays a role in a lot of these situations like this?
And the crazy thing is, first of all, yes, the age is important, but a lot of people say, oh, it's only a number.
Mm-hmm.
It's only a number. No, it's not just a number. I mean, this lady had 5 kids trying to make it, and this 26-year-old dude, I mean, I don't want to, diminish his manhood, but he ain't experienced nothing at 26. What has he learned at 26? Except to, munch, sponge off this lady that's already trying to make it with her 5 kids.
Right.
He ain't bringing nothing to the table but an empty plate.
Right.
I mean, it is totally ridiculous, and probably, he's suspicious about her because she already had a life before he got into her life.
Exactly.
She's had a life already. She got friends. She got family. She had a routine, a way of doing things. And this guy gonna come in, and all of a sudden, he wants the attention. He wants all of her attention. He wants for free what she has been working for all her life. Just struggling, you know, and I've seen it so many times before. You know, even when I was, you know, delivering mail, you know, you see these situations, you know, over the years, and it's like, you know, they don't get any better. They don't get any better. I look at this. What is this cat doing with this old lady? Not that 49 is old, you know, but she already has a situation here that is at best difficult. At best, she's living a difficult life, and this guy, he's just moving in to get what he can get out of her.
Right.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And to what could she say that would escalate this kind of action? And what is he do? What is he doing? 26-year-old. What is he doing? Carrying a gun in a vehicle filled with her kids. What?
Those are the magic questions.
Yeah.
Those are the magic questions. Pastor KL, do you think that the age difference has a lot to do with a lot of these situations, these relationships?
Definitely. They're not even equally yoked. You know, as Shontyce would say, let me have a transparency moment. I had a 29-year-old try to holler at me. 29. So my first question was, how do I bring you to the family reunion? You know, that's my first question. You know, it's not that, oh, she young, she a tenderoni. My question is, how do I introduce you to my 35-year-old son? You know what I mean? What kind of conversation would be at the table when I bring you there? You know, and at that point, you need to be able to stop and say, this is not going to work. It's not going to work.
Right.
You know, some women like the thug life. If he's walking around with a gun, he's a thug life. That's what you like until the gun gets turned on you. You know, we don't look at the down the line. We look at where we at the traffic stop now. You know what I mean? We're at the red light. We never think it's going to be green. And sometimes when it's green, it's a traffic jam. You get caught in the person that runs his red light. And that's what happened. He ran the red light and now you got shot. And then you thought you got away, but you put your children in harm's way. These are the questions we ask before we get into a relationship. I got 3 children that don't belong to you. Now I'm going to subject them because they don't have a choice in the matter.
Right.
To the bad mistakes that you decide. No, I'm sorry.
Yes, and that's where my head was going to, Pastor KL, where we have a comment from Tamika. There is a price for that quote unquote feel good moment. In this case, it's death. Absolutely. And that's what Pastor Vinny and Pastor KL was just saying. You know, it's, you know, you don't really feel, it's like when I think back to when I was in junior high and high school, we just thought we were grown. And now looking at these junior high school students, I'm like, y'all don't even buy your own underwear yet. Go sit down somewhere. But you couldn't tell us that, you know, when we were junior high students, we knew everything. We were mature, you know, some were immature, those who were mature. And now at 39 years old, and I'm trying to picture myself really calling myself dating someone in their 20s when my fellow 39-year-old men get on my nerves. And I have to tell a 20, how old is he? He has to be about maybe early 20s or early 20s. And I had to tell him, I said, men average wise, get slower as they get older. He said, no way. I said, wait.
Watch
So
them out now. Watch them out. Watch them out. Watch them out.
if the shoe fits, wear it. If the shoe fits,
Ouch,
wear it.
ouch, 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 ouch.
But it's the same thing with a lot of women. Typically, the women mature more, but you have some women who slack off more. You know, but he was like, wait, what? I said, yes. So grab a hold of whatever you need to grab a hold of now at 22, 23, however old you are, because it just seems like oh my gosh. Like, I remember being able to hold better conversations when we were in our 20s versus we about to be 40. You know, so it's really trying to take that, and it has everything to do. I agree with you, Pastor Vinny. What have you really experienced? Here I am, a 41-year-old woman with 5 kids. What could you really come and tell me at 26? A single person. You don't even have one child. So already, as Pastor K.O. said, we're unequally yoked. Because when now I need to talk parent talk, I can't turn over you, and you don't even know what it is to babysit. But yet, you dating me and my 5 kids, and that's why it was nothing for you to turn your gun to these 5 children, because you don't even care about your own life, let alone now caring about. And I completely agree. Stop putting these children in really quick, Pastor Vinny, do you see any of this in the church where you see these women getting involved with men, especially with them having children, and it's like, no, you should not be dealing with that man?
Yes, you know, we see it in the church as well. But the thing is, it's the mother that's bringing, I don't say drag, but bringing these kids with her to church. That dude ain't coming to church. He's not coming to church. And then you're gonna see that her attendance is soon gonna get shaky, because he don't want her to leave the house. He wants her, if he have a job, which I don't feel like he even had a job. You know, he wants her attention.
Right.
He wants her attention. He wants to be laid up with her Sunday morning. You know, so it just gets worse and worse. I've known many of the ladies in church who would, you know, they would have to use an extra covering on their face to hide the bruises. Because this guy's at home, he don't want her to have that kind of church life. He wants her to be with him, and he got nothing to add to the pot except more misery. No, yeah, we see it too often, much too often.
Wow. Pastor KL, is this something that you've witnessed in the church with these women getting involved with these men, especially with them having children, and you're looking like, okay, how did you end up linking yourself to that?
Well, okay, yeah, I see it as well, but I see it from the other side. So yes, the women, but for some reason, women are attracted to the anointing. So they want a man of God. Okay, but the man of God is flesh. And just because he dresses well, don't mean that he follows God. You know what I mean? So now when you get home with the man of God, he pulls off the superhero outfit. And now he's just Clark Kent. You know, and Clark Kent is a heathen. You know what I mean? He's knocking you upside your head. He's not caring about your children. But the very appearance of me having a man of God, now I look good to everybody else. So, and now that I realize that, listen, he's my kryptonite. I'm falling apart. But because I've made it look so appetizing and made it look so great, I can't tell people, or I can't fall back from this thing, because I painted the picture. I put them on every post. I talked about them to my girlfriends. I've done all this stuff about the man of God, and I'm going to be a first lady. I'm going to be the preacher's wife. All this stuff that I've created in my head for this man who's not a man of God.
That's good.
That is. And thank you for giving it from just the parishioners side and from the clergy aspect as well, because I've witnessed as a parishioner that, you know, and it's not maybe so much. Well, no, I can't say that. There has been some, you know, with the children, and it's just like it just really shows like how people moved in the world before they got to God. You know, because like certain things, you're not just gonna pick up after you say yes, Lord. These were habits you already had. And now it's just highlighted maybe in a different way or in a different level. Now it looks even worse because now we're in the church arena. But it just really shows like, oh, okay, so you would have been going for the drug dealer. And you know, because if it's like you're looking for the big name in church, because if I'm a timid woman, I'm not going to now come to church and now want the bishop. You know, because the bishop is a popular person. Mm-hmm. You know, so
but if the bishop act like he wants you, then you say, "Well, out of all the women he could have had, he picked me." So now I'm fascinated. Now you just said something that I want to clear up. There's a difference between getting to God and being in God. Mm-hmm. We get to school, but we never go to class. Mm-hmm. So just because you get to school don't mean you're learning anything. Don't mean that you know. Just because you get to God don't mean that you know God. Mm-hmm. You got to the church. Yeah, you've gotten closer than where you've been. That don't mean you in God. Mm-hmm. Or God is in you. Mm-hmm. You know, a lot of times we okay, I'll just bring him to church and then maybe he'll change. No, just because I come to McDonald's don't mean that I want everything on the menu.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely, I agree, and that's why those habits don't change and don't die down, because you're not allowing God to now convict you and change the obvious, because he's gonna attack those. He knows if you out here in the world pursuing these men, and now you're gonna be in the church pursuing these men, or if you're the one to wait for the man to come to you and all that. He knows all of that, so I completely agree. But thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us this morning. Such a thought-provoking conversation and how we were able to analyze and break these stories down. And I pray that you guys have a blessed day. Thank you.
You as well. You as well.
Get well, Pastor Steph.
Yes.
We miss you. Love you.
We're giving God thanks that we were able to have, you know, I always feel blessed being able to converse with pastors, you know, because that's one of the ways I see God saying, all right, I'm going to need you to step up how you think. I'm going to need you to step up, you know, everything that he's given me. You know, and Pastor Kale made a really, really good point. There's a huge difference in attending church and actually being up in it. So like really in it. Let's get to this benediction. 2 Corinthians 13:11. Finally, brothers, rejoice, aim for restoration, comfort one another, agree with one another, live in peace, and the God of love and peace will be with you. And again, that's 2 Corinthians 13:11. Every single news story that was spoken on this morning had to do with aiming for restoration, comforting one another, agreeing with one another, and living in peace. And there is no peace when I'm trying to kill you and your children. There is no peace when I come over to your house and I now run you over and kill you with my car because I found something that I didn't feel was appropriate. And now I got in my head, you gonna die. You know, there is nothing peaceful about me walking into a courthouse and my goal is to kill anybody, whether it was to kill another person, you know, regular person, or a cop, there's nothing peaceful about me taking you to my RV and beating you, kicking, kneeing, punching you, and then asking you to lie so I don't get in trouble. How is that comforting one another? And we have to think about all of the things that we say and that we do that is not comforting to one another, that is showing that we do not agree with one another. One of the things, there's a lot of misconceptions with when you give your life to God and when you're really aiming to live in God. And one of the misconceptions is you agree with everything the Lord tells you should do. And I'm like, who told y'all that? They lying. If anybody tells you that anytime God says, do this, don't do that, talk to that person, pray with this person, cut that person off, be that person's friend, you walk around with a smile on your face, yes, Jesus, I'll do it. Yes, I'll do it. You're lying. They're lying. No. And that's why God says in his word, those who endure to the end, because he's not looking for yes people. He knows there are no yes people. Sometimes it's like, God, I wish you did make us robots, because it would just make it so much more simplistic to just be obedient. But what glory is he getting out of that? No, he wants to see the same way he chose us, like he chooses to love us. He doesn't have to love us. He chooses to love us. He doesn't need us. He wants us. See how that feels? Like to know that God, the one who created everything, who created me, the God who could snatch the breath out of my body right now, who could close my eyes right now. He doesn't need me. He could do it. But he wants me. And I can't even say for women, because men are showing how much that matters to them now as well versus years ago. When someone wants you, it feels different than when it's like, I need you. Because let me tell you something about people that I've experienced and I've had to learn the hard way. When people don't feel like they need you anymore, how quickly they turn. And that's what happened with this couple, with the guy trying to kill the woman, the girlfriend, and then trying to kill the kids. He got to the point he felt like he ain't need it no more. The woman who ran her boyfriend over and killed him. I don't need you no more. Whatever kind of relationship this one with the RV had, and he talked about welcome to Hell House and all that, he ain't need it no more. Somebody ain't need it no more. This is how the enemy shows when he's used us up. So when we talk about comforting one another, God is like, I need y'all to want each other, because that's going to show y'all and other people how much I want you. And it ends with, and the God of love and peace will be with you. He can't be with us and we're harboring all that wickedness and evilness, and we already have it in our mind, and we're going to go over there and shoot this one and kick that one and run this one over and stab this one. How is he with us? He's not going to roll with us. He's not a ride or die like that. That's the devil. The devil rides with you. He already know he going down. So his thing is, I'm going to take as many of y'all with me as I can. But we have to really make sure that we are abiding by this, that we are aiming for restoration. We are aiming for God to say, you know what? I want to clean you up. And we allow him to clean us up. And we don't try to go back to what's familiar. Because one of the things that Pastor Steph had to remind me of yesterday was, you're saying that when you were in the world and you were moving and doing all that, it seemed as though you were making moves. But the very things you were doing then is why you're stagnant now. Because now there is a whole lot of undoing that God has me doing. Because God does not want me to move forward thinking I'm moving forward and I'm really not. He needs to do a thorough and complete work in me. And that's reminding me of the verse in James where God says, do not rush the process, because I need there to be a thorough job done so that when it's done, you are complete and mature in everything that you do. If y'all don't think y'all got to abide by God's word, man, those who battle the Bible and claim the Bible ain't real and all that, I can't say as of late, it's been happening, but it seems I'm realizing, like I'm catching on to how many times now, as I'm talking, even having regular conversations with people that's not directly about God, his word, verses pop up And it's like, but y'all trying to dispute that God is real, that his word is real. Oh, God is real, but the Bible ain't real. Come on. Ain't no other book in this world able to pinpoint every single thing in your life, in my life, in their life, in their life, in a different state, in a different country, in a different continent. No other book is able to do that. But because God is the one and only true living God, because he is the creator and because he owns everything, that's why his word stands. He says his word will be here when we're not there. What does that tell you? So we have to really make sure that we're making a conscious decision of making a switch, because I ain't get to do my switch tip yesterday. But making a conscious decision of really choosing to take God up on the offer of just him restoring us. And a lot of times we don't realize what we need restoration from until he says it's time to be healed. It's time to be restored. It's time to stop doing that. It's time to start doing this. Okay, so we really need to make sure that we are as on point as possible. You've been watching It's Due Time with Pastor Steph. Catch us live every Monday morning, Tuesday morning, Wednesday morning, Thursday morning, and Friday morning, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on our YouTube channel, A Closer Walk Christian Media Network. Yes, we are a media network now. We're not only a YouTube channel. Also, catch us live every Monday through Friday morning, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Pastor Steph's Facebook page, Coach for Christian Life. Make sure y'all contact her, let her know that y'all miss her, that y'all thinking about her. I thank you guys so much for entrusting me with getting your morning started, assisting you with getting your morning started right with the Lord. Praying that you continue to have a cool day. Remember the PSA from earlier, y'all. So make sure you stay hydrated. Pastor Vinny making sure he stays hydrated. I know Pastor KL making sure he's staying hydrated. And making sure that you guys tune in tomorrow, God spares, for Wow Wednesday. Make sure you reflect on everything that was spoken on this morning. As Pastor Steph loves to remind us, take advantage of God's offer. Say yes to him now, because later on is not promised. Again, we love you. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Love the provoking conversation, and make sure you stay cool. More water than juice and soda. Remember what our nutritionist Athena tells us. And have a blessed day, everyone.